It's always good to hear Douglas give the opening salvo in a debate because he doesn't hold back and always has exciting and radical ideas. I'm going to challenge some of those ideas for the sake of having a good debate this evening, and it's good to see that so many people are interested in the subject of democracy, because without it there's really no point in our whole party system, etc. I'm not at all surprised that Douglas is a little cynical after 10 years of autocratic government, with Tony Blair getting closer and closer to being a president or head of state, well, hardly head of state, but trying to be a presidential figure in the United Kingdom. And Labour has done much to undermine our democracy, and I agree entirely with Douglas that our system is much in need of repair and improvement. But I would set out a slightly different criteria for the sake of argument about why we need to take action and what we should do. And the first part of my argument is about how democracy itself works. And I would suggest that democracy only works properly when there's a direct link between the person who is elected as a representative and the people who do the electing of that person. There has to be a direct link, a direct line of responsibility. And that's why I'm against many of the systems of proportional representation which some parties come up with. Democracy only works if the people know how to get rid of the person who is representing them. That's why that direct link is so important. And for that reason, I would speak up for the current Westminster system of electing a Member of Parliament to represent an area who can then speak up, not for the people who voted for him or her, but for all of the people to whom he or she has a duty as a representative in that area. And when the people are not happy with the way in which they're represented, they know what to do. They vote for someone else next time. Douglas has suggested that petition power might be the way forward. And I'm going to give you a counter-argument for that, for the sake of argument. I would worry a lot if petition power were to actually lead to making laws in the United Kingdom. I would worry about it because I think there's a huge danger that where you have a mass movement of people for a particular subject, for a particular area of concern, there's a great danger that he who shouts the loudest is the strongest, and that he who shouts the loudest gets the power. And today, in the highly technical, highly communicative world which Douglas so rightly described, he who shouts the loudest is he who has the most money, and that would worry me enormously. We all see what advertising campaigns are like, both in the political world and in the commercial world. If you have enough money to bring in the best advertising agency, you are likely to win the votes for your argument. And if it were, for example, banning fox hunting, which I just pluck out of the air as a possible subject where people feel very strongly on one side or the other, you find pressure groups being set up, and those who are against or those who are for banning of, let's say, fox hunting, as indeed they were out on the streets in great numbers when we were having those debates. What you would find, instead of having a measured argument on the floor of the House of Commons, you would have one advertising agency against another advertising agency, encouraging the people to vote one way or the other. Now, I know there's an argument for and against that. Douglas is giving you the argument for. I'm giving you the argument against so that you can then come in to this debate in due course. But the key point is that he who has the most money is likely to be able to employ the most razzmatazz arguments. And that is not a good thing, because I feel, as an elected representative, that one of my important duties is to represent the silent majority. You find that the people who write to the papers, the people who log into blogs, the people who actually make a noise about things are a minority. And just because they make a noise, it doesn't mean that they are the only ones you have to listen to. We mustn't be afraid, as politicians, to remember the silent majority who don't have a voice to speak up on their own behalf. And a good member of Parliament or councillor keeps in touch with every group in his or her constituency, however large or small it may be, and can speak up for the silent majority. So that is my counter-argument. And finally, I would argue that Douglas is absolutely right to say that we need change now, that we cannot go on with the undermining of democracy which has occurred under this Labour government. But I would suggest to you that what needs to be changed is not the system. What needs to be changed is the government. We need a new, fresh, conservative government to bring honesty back into politics. Thank you.